Exclusive new reporting from NBC News reveals Immigration and Customs Enforcement has placed new recruits into training before being fully vetted as part of the hiring surge to meet President Trump's mass deportation goals. As a result, ICE officials later discovered that some recruits had criminal backgrounds, failed drug tests, or did not meet physical or academic standards. What's more, some recruits had not submitted fingerprints for background checks, which is a violation of ICE hiring policy. In fact, one recruit had prior charges for strong-arm robbery and battery related to domestic violence. Additionally, nearly half of recruits failed the written exam, even with access to notes and textbooks. All of this as ICE has shortened its training program from 13 weeks to 6 weeks to accelerate the onboarding process. ICE's HR office is reportedly overwhelmed by more than 150,000 applicants, spurred by a $50,000 signing bonus. That'll bring in a $50,000 signing bonus.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it is life imitating art, or at least comedy, with Tina Fey's skit. But, you know, Willie, South Park also had an entire episode where Mr. Garrison was whisked into ICE with absolutely no training, with no nothing. And here, according to this report, like half of the people in ICE failed written exams, even though they had access to notes and books. And these are the people that are going around, again, throwing people to the ground, many times without anybody seeing their identity. It is, man, you talk about a recipe for disaster. I mean, we're there.
Yeah, I mean, when you have masked agents who haven't really been vetted, who haven't passed the test, who've taken the signing bonus and just been kind of put on the front lines, you're going to get some of these incidents we've seen most recently down on Canal Street, roughing up some of the guys selling fake purses down there. But yes, you would like to see, this is obviously a part of the president's mass deportation efforts. He needs the bodies. He needs people to be out in the streets, knocking on these doors, kicking down these doors, taking people out of vehicles and all the things that we've been seeing in these videos. But he needs people, Mika. He needs bodies, and so they don't have to pass the test.
They have put a lot of money, Joe, into ICE, and they're trying to get the people.
Well, a lot of money into ICE, but obviously very little focus on training, or the proper training. Mike Barnacle's with us, and Mike, you can certainly speak to how police officers and the rigorous training that so many departments go through, and so much of it just has to do with how you tamp down a situation, how you go in, keep your calm, keep it together, and try to diffuse difficult situations. We're seeing just the opposite of that time and time again with ICE, and perhaps it's because they're just rushing through the process, again, straight out of a South Park comedy skit. They're just rushing unqualified people through to go grab people, seize them, yank them from their cars, throw them to the ground, put zip ties on them, and detain them. And we're hearing more and more of U.S. citizens, American citizens, people who are here legally as well, having this treatment.
Yeah. Joe, I can't think of a morning in the recent past where we've discussed more depressing topics, one after the other. The destruction of the East Wing, what ICE is up to, the fact that I don't know anyone in this country, I don't know anyone among my coterie, small coterie of friends, who don't believe that if you're in this country illegally, you don't belong here. That's not an issue. What is an issue that we have really armed, masked vigilantes roaming the streets of this country and literally scooping innocent people, largely innocent people, off of sidewalks and cities, throwing them into vans where they disappear immediately. They're sent to Vermont or they're sent to Texas, and their families are wondering where they've been sent. This is a disgrace. And it makes you wonder about our democracy. What is going on in this country? Who are we? Who are we take your masks off. If you're doing a job that we should be proud of or that we would want you to do, take your masks off. Identify yourself. It's not happening.
Well, and certainly, again, news reports that American citizens often have been taken off the street and not been able to make contact for quite some time. It is, of course, it's not what we do here in America. It's deeply disturbing. John Heinlein, two things. I'd love for you to talk about a couple things here. One, talk about the challenges of ramping up so quickly with ICE, and unfortunately.
So this morning in Chicago, local officials and immigration advocates are calling for the release of a father who's been detained by ICE while his daughter battles cancer. Ruben Torres Maldonado had a hearing in immigration court today after being arrested by ICE agents at a Home Depot on Saturday. Local leaders are asking Torres Maldonado to be released so he can be with his 16-year-old daughter, Ophelia, who is again undergoing treatment for a rare stage 4 cancer. Joining us now, Illinois Democratic Congresswoman Delia Ramirez, one of the lawmakers pushing for Maldonado's release. Congresswoman, welcome. Glad you're here. You've just stepped out of that courtroom. Tell us about how the hearing went.
Yeah, I'm actually still in front of the courthouse now. The family was there, all of us were there, and the judge has now filed a continuance to tomorrow to make a final decision on the case. I think what we're seeing is gut-wrenching. You see the daughter sitting there in a wheelchair with us as we're talking about her father's future, a father that has lived in this country for over 20 years, whose crime was to go to Home Depot to pick up some stuff so that he can continue to provide for his family. It's really, really hard to see this, and it's why it's so important for us to be in solidarity with this family, recognizing that what ICE is doing in this moment, in many cases, unconstitutional. They had no judicial warrant to take them.
Were you able to, as they say, the proverbial, read the room and see if there was a sympathetic tendency to everything that was being argued in his favor?
I mean, the lawyer made it very clear. This case is gut-wrenching. This is a case of a father whose daughter has been in the hospital for 39 days, was given a few days to come home for the weekend to be with her family, was given that time on Friday, and on Saturday her father was taken by ICE in one of these abduction cases in front of a Home Depot. I think as we were sitting there watching and listening to the lawyer for the federal government and the lawyer representing Ruben, was very, very clear. They don't have a reason in which why they took them, except for the fact that 20 years ago, he, in this broken immigration system, entered this country unlawfully. And so I think, I'm hoping that this goes the way that it needs to, that tomorrow Ruben is ordered to be released, but he's already been sent to Indiana, and it is causing so much pain to the family. And the entire community was watching.
And how much support is the Maldonado family getting from the Chicago community?
Look, we have all, this is my constituent. She's a 16-year-old, brilliant soul. Yesterday I was with her in a press conference, and this young woman, her mother was talking and said, look, all she wants is for her father to come home. All she wants is to be able to demonstrate in the life that she has, in the time that she has, what it's like to be able to love one another. And so, look, my entire community is wrapping their arms around this family, and they understand that this is not just one case. We're seeing this all around the country. But in this case, we have a child, a 16-year-old in stage 4 cancer, who needs her father home as quickly as possible. One of the primary caregivers of this child, and her 4-year-old brother. Her 4-year-old brother who keeps asking, where is Papa? Where is my dad? His dad should be home. And we're hoping that the judge releases him tomorrow.
Last point here. In a statement, DHS said in part that Torres Maldonado has a history of driving offenses, which include driving without insurance, without a valid license, speeding, and calls his appearance today nothing more than a desperate Hail Mary attempt to keep him in the country. Your response to that?
I find it really hypocritical that the very same agency that is recklessly driving through Chicago, causing accidents as they did yesterday, are now talking about a man that up until a couple of years ago could not have a driver's license in the state until we made it legal, wasn't able to have insurance. Look, they're going to continue to try to make up excuses for what they're doing, but what they're doing is unconscionable. They're not going after criminals, they're going after fathers who have spent their life in this country, making this country better. It's unconscionable what you're saying, and I really believe that justice will be served. I'm hopeful for that as we continue to defend this family and so many who are under siege by these terrible ICE operations.
A father that was picked up just while going to a Home Depot, is that correct?
That is correct. A father who was doing side jobs, including going to Home Depot to be able to go do the work that he's doing so he can pay for the care that his daughter needs with stage 4 cancer.
Sobering story. Democratic Congresswoman Dealey Ramirez, thank you for sharing it with us. And that is going to do it for us today. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. I'll be back this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 1 p.m. Eastern. Chris Jansing picks up our coverage right now.
Good day. I'm Chris Jansing, live at MSNBC headquarters in New York City. Going, gone. The White House, as Americans have known it for more than 80 years, disappearing before our eyes.
This was never about justice, right? Like, it was never, ever about justice, ever. It was always about getting Trump's cronies to intimidate Americans, yes, undocumented people, but we've seen it, citizens too, right? Like, we've seen this. Citizens have been snatched up and affected by this, and some of them have been let go, but God knows if there are citizens who have been accidentally deported or citizens who are still locked up because they look like they're not citizens, and you know that it's racial profiling, right? And so the reality is he hired a bunch of people, some of whom have more criminal background than the people they're going after. They said they would get the bad guys. They got the bad guys and put them in friggin' ICE uniforms. So no wonder cities like Chicago and Portland and so many others, LA, do not want them there and have kicked them out or tried to kick them out, or protesters have basically chased them away. Because the real criminals, guys, and I mean that both in a philosophical sense, because if you look at what ICE does, it's indistinguishable from like what a kidnapping would look like. We get this, right? Like, it's a bunch of dudes not in uniform grabbing people on the street and just throwing them in a vehicle or trying to and driving away. And what people are doing is saying, hey, stop you're abducting this guy, right? Are you an officer? We don't know, right? Like, I'm not going to defend every action by like traditional police, but traditional police, read people rights usually, and they wear a uniform usually, and often they don't hide their faces usually, and they often wear a badge that has their name on it usually, and all of these things make them look less like guys stealing people in the night and more like officers of the law. And I gotta be honest, given the lack of background checks and whatnot, I'm much more afraid. Like, I don't visit the States. I won't visit as long as Trump's in office, right? I'm a Canadian. I'd be much more afraid of ICE than of any undocumented person.